o'clock, we're going to start the April 4th, 2023 City Council meeting. Please call roll.
Garza.
Here.
Conklin.
Here.
Goss.
Here.
Fast.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the day's prayer, we have Tanya Wanger, please.
Let's pray together. God of all seasons, we are especially celebrating the gifts of spring this morning, of warmer days, of greening, growing things that surprise us everywhere we look. And we thank you for bursts of color that remind us of the ways your grace and love surprise us if we are ready and willing to see you and receive you. During this Holy Week, open us anew to your love bursting through what appears impossible, to bring new life soaked in transforming love for the world. And I give thanks today also for the gifts of this human community here in Hutchinson, Kansas, for the opportunities that we have when we are a community together to spread goodness to those around us. Goodness rooted in this transforming love that you breathe into us every day. So send your wisdom, your insight, and your blessing into this meeting today, as this gathered group tends to issues of importance and care for this community of people gathered in Hutchinson, Kansas. Amen.
Next item, please.
Item 4A, a proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunications Week.
All right. Are you Mr. Irwin?
I am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Let me read this proclamation, please. All right. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require law enforcement, fire, or emergency medical services, and when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of law enforcement, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and paramedics are dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from our citizens who telephone the Hutchinson Reno County Emergency Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services and are the single vital link for our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and paramedics by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Hutchinson Reno County Emergency Communications Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year, now therefore I, John Richardson, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of April 9th through April 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Sir?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Would
Yeah,
you like to
thank
say a few things?
No, but just if you see a 911 dispatcher, they're most generally the folks you never see but you hear. But please tell them thank you. They do a remarkable job. You have a great 911 center here, and I'm glad to be here as well. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Next proclamation, please.
Item 4B, a proclamation for Week of the Young Child.
Eva Patterson? Thank you. You join me up here. I'll read this proclamation. Whereas the Early Childhood Council and other local organizations, in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 17th through 21st, 2023, and whereas these organizations are working to improve early learning opportunities, which are crucial to the growth and development of young children and to building better futures for everyone in Hutchinson, Kansas, and whereas all young children and their families across the country and in Hutchinson, Kansas deserve access to high-quality early education and care, and whereas in recognizing and supporting the people, programs, and policies that are committed to high-quality early childhood education as the right choice for kids. Now, therefore, I, John Richardson, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of April 17th through 21st, 2023 as Week of the Young Child, and encourage all citizens to work to make a good investment in early childhood in Hutchinson, Kansas. Would you like to say a few things while you're up here?
I'm actually new in the community, and I will say there's an amazing group of people that work with all the young children here. So there's going to be multiple things going on throughout that week. I can't tell you all the different locations, but just keep your eye out. And if you have any littles that you know would have fun, bring them out. So we want to celebrate them that week.
All right, well, I'll give this
Thank
to
you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I actually have another proclamation I believe you're part of. Would you read the next one, please?
Item 4C, a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month.
All right. Whereas children are key to the state's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, and while children are the most valuable resource, they are also our most vulnerable. And whereas children have a right to be safe and to be provided an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow, and whereas child abuse and neglect can be prevented by supporting and strengthening Kansas families, thus preventing the far-reaching effects of maltreatment, providing the opportunity for children to develop healthy, trusting family bonds, and consequently building the foundation of communities. And whereas we must come together as partners so that the voices of our children are heard by all, and we are as a community extending a helping hand to children and families in need. And whereas by providing a safe and nurturing environment for our children, free of violence, abuse, and neglect, we can ensure that Kansas children will grow to their full potential as the next generation of leaders, helping to secure the future of this state and nation. Now therefore, I, John Richardson, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And you'll accept this one too?
Yes,
All
thank you so
right.
much.
Do you have
Thank you.
anything else you'd like to add? on this
Yes, so we are with the Kansas Children's Service League, and hopefully very soon, maybe starting today, you'll start seeing blue pinwheels around the community, and that is the reminder of the Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. And it takes a village to raise a family. That's kind of my new motto. So you guys are part of that village, so we appreciate it so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item, please.
Item 5, oral communications from the audience.
All right, this is the portion of our meeting that we allow members of the audience to come up and share thoughts that are not on the agenda. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes and state your name and address if you'd like to address the council.
My name is Rick Orthwine. I live at Amanda, 100 block of Amanda. I came here basically, I traveled across the city. I was like startled with something a little bit humorous. I realized Colorado Springs is in the middle of a squirrel war. But anyway, first I want to thank you for helping me find work. I am right now working at, or going to be getting training at Delos on computers, where I will, at the graduation, I'll get a certificate and I'll get a laptop at the Beyond Borders. I always forget they changed their name. And curb cuts need to be worked on. I came up here through the fair, through the down Poplar. There's not a lot of places for us to come down. We got a great restaurant down here at the railroad, but traveling on the sidewalks is something that is needed. Oh yes, my favorite is the people at transit. They serve this city incredibly.
The Reno County Area Transit.
Yeah, and I've loved them. So.
Well, appreciate your thoughts on that. Thank you very much. Did anyone else have any comments or?
Comments for on this or for the 5-minute?
This is the 5 minute.
I'd like to say.
Would you please come up and state your name and address, please? For those of us who don't know who you are.
Stephen Peterman, Salt City Brewing Company, 514 North Main here in Hutchinson. Just two brief things. One is, first, I want to extend my sincere appreciation to the Hutchinson community once again. We just were crowned best brunch in the Wichita area. J.J. Hayes of KFDI Radio held a March Madness style event, and the Hutchinson community came out in droves. And it was kind of a Cinderella story. David and Goliath, the Easy Egg, Homegrown, Stearman's, Doodah Diner, the Beacon, and Salt City now is the best brunch in that contest, the best brunch in the Wichita area. More importantly, I was wanting to get on the radar of the council. We've done, as many of you know, a street event pretty much every year for the past couple of years. We'd like to do another one this year, and it was suggested we get on your radar as soon as possible. We'd really like to do a day and a half event, a half a day Friday and all day Saturday. We're looking at June 2nd and 3rd, if that can work. This would be a family event by day. We'd have things for kids to do, for families to do, things from bouncy houses, food trucks. Would like to do something where they bury change in a sand pile for kids 10, 12 and under, whatever it is, to go looking for a quarter, to dig through the sandbox and find treasure, stuff like that. We'd also like to do a 3-on-3 tournament, maybe a dodgeball tournament, a barbecue competition, things like that. That'd be fun for the community to do. So we're looking at those two dates. We are looking at doing then, like we've done in the past, night events for the adults. This would be, we've already contracted with Paramount. It's a band that you've seen before here in downtown. And if we can't get something done on the street, we'd have them at the brewery. But we hope for the crowd they typically pull, we'd love to do something on the street again. And then we're currently negotiating with the Nashville Act. We'd like to bring a big name Nashville Act here to Hutchinson on Friday night. So anyway, just wanted to get on the council's radar and on the department head's radar so that they're aware we're trying to put this together. And as soon as we can get more details and information, we'll be back for more formal application to the council. So appreciate you. Thank you very much.
It's on the radar. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Anyone else in the audience?
Hello, I'm Cindy Guffey, and I live at 7 Hillcrest Drive here in Hutchinson. And I did send an email yesterday to the 5 city councilmen, and Mr. Fast, I appreciate your response this morning, but one of my concerns, it tags on to an item that will be brought up later in the meeting, but I'm a school bus driver for Bueller, and we changed the school start times back in August, and our school zone times still do not reflect properly what's going on at the schools. Particularly, I drive for Prairie Hills, and the school zone begins at 3 p.m. and ends at 4 p.m. However, we get out of school at 2:50. Okay. So congestion, traffic and everything is starting to build up just after 2:30. And if you're coming from the north, headed south on Lucille, the posted speed limit is 50, which is a pretty fast speed as you're coming across a school. And right now we have baseball practice going on, and there is all kinds of traffic coming in, and they're running in excess sometimes of 50 miles an hour through there. We're trying to get buses in and out, cars in and out. And this time of the year, you have a lot of kids that are starting to walk. They're riding skateboards, etc. to school, and it's just creating a pretty dangerous situation. And I believe that that's the same thing going on at our other two in Hutchinson schools at Plum Creek and also at Union Valley. The school start times did change, and I don't believe that they necessarily line up with the time frames that are posted. So
I appreciate that.
If
yeah,
we could
it's
have that
adjacent
addressed.
it's an adjacent matter. So
Okay.
I agree that this is the time to bring that up. So we need to touch base with the Bueller School District, even maybe the Hutchinson School District, on what their start times are going to be for the next year.
And the school superintendents contact us directly for that.
Yeah.
So that's where it needs to be directed back to the
Well,
school
she told us
superintendent.
back in August that she did contact the city about
Well,
that.
it hasn't
but
happened.
We contacted her the start day of school when we realized, we've got a problem. And she said that she contacted the city that following week and that it would be shortly changed. And
Okay.
And now we're into April, so
We will dig
just
into
wanted to
that.
bring it. Thank you very much.
Not only for this year, but we need to see if there's going to be any changes for next
Okay.
year too.
I appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thanks
thank you
for
for your
bringing that up.
response, sir.
You bet.
Does anyone else have public comment? All right, we will move on to the next item, please.
Item 6, consent agenda.
All right, everyone, we had a fairly healthy consent agenda. Does anyone have any comments or questions on this? Or I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, would you please call roll on this?
Garza.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 7A, consider ordinance rezoning property at 700 East 30th Avenue.
Good morning, Council. Jim Sightnader, Interim Planning and Development Director. I'm here for the next two cases. The first is a request to rezone RCB Bank's location on 30th Street. And we have kind of an unusual situation. We normally ask you to approve the recommendation from the Planning Commission because they're always spot on things. But we had an unusual situation at the meeting. So as I go through the slides, I want to kind of point out why the motion is kind of changed from their recommendation. That's an aerial map of the location, and of course, we're all familiar with East 30th Street, McDonald's and things are all right in that same location. And it is currently zoned C1, and the need of the change is to go to C4 because of the bank's wishes to add drive-through lanes and things to the south side of the property, which aren't allowed in C1. So this is basically kind of the layout of what they'd like to do. What did I do? I missed my slide, sorry. What I wanted to point out is, as you see where that arrow is, the black arrow up to the top of the screen to the north, as we had the public meeting, we had several neighbors from Nutmeg Lane come, and they were fine with what the bank wanted to do as far as the drive-through lanes, but they did have some concern because switching from C1 to C4 would lessen the setback requirement on the property. So in the spirit of the meeting and the Planning Commission wanting to protect that from no changing to what they currently had, it was brought up that maybe a protective overlay would be a solution to that situation. So that's why the recommendation from the Planning Council included that 25-foot protective overlay. Well, as we kind of went through the process and visited with Mr. Brown, Matt Williams from PEC realized that actually the 30-foot platted setback that was on the original plat would more than cover that. So there wasn't that need for the protective overlay piece to the project. So for those reasons, we're asking you this morning just to approve the rezone from C1 to C4 and to not accept the Planning Commission recommendation, but then to rephrase to the motion for the straight rezone. And again, everything's in compliance with zoning and the future land use map. And the layout will be really nice. They do need about 5 feet from that 30-foot protective setback on the south side so they can complete the drive-through lanes and the machinery and things that they will need there. So we're working with Paul on exactly how to handle that. We did go through a variance portion to the meeting, and so Paul's going to direct us on our next steps to make that work. But basically everyone then was for the project, and so I would ask you this morning to approve the rezone from C1 commercial to C4 commercial so that the bank can have their drive-through lanes.
Thank you, Mr. Seitner. The public comment was really, was that the only public comment on, was the setback on the north side? Is that correct?
The north side, and then we plan to take care of the south side with a separate action, which we did, and both were approved unanimously through the Planning Commission. It's much easier to zoom in people for the Planning Commission meeting because when this meeting is broadcast over YouTube, it's harder to zoom people in. So both parties, the agent and the bank personnel, were on that Planning Commission call. Everyone was on the same page. They had no intention of doing anything that would impact the neighbors to the north, so.
Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Seitner?
I have a question. Can you go back one to show the aerial? Or one or two, however it was. So the new plan, I see there's a sidewalk on the south side of the bank property. It runs the extension of the property. Does the new drive-through lanes interrupt the sidewalk at all?
No,
It'll be the same?
Has no impact to
Awesome, okay.
the sidewalk. You can kind of see here where everything stays in place and the sidewalk is
Okay.
not impacted at all.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Seitner? If not, I would entertain a motion on this.
I would make a motion to change the zoning to C4.
You want to read
Or do
that?
I need to read this?
Please do,
Okay.
sir.
That's actually fine.
Yes.
Will that work? All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on this? If not, please call roll.
Garza.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Next item, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seitner.
Item 8A, consider final plat for Hutch 17th LLC.
This was really a fun project and an unusual project out at the mall where an out parcel piece from Mr. Christian Abla's company, which is Hutchinson 17th LLC. He was selling part of a property but wanted to keep a piece of the plat and for future development. And Mr. J. Odell, who's the architect on the project, is here in attendance this morning. The request is to approve and ask the mayor to sign the final plat for Hutchinson 17th LLC, which was approved by the Planning Commission unanimously on March 28th. The replat has been reviewed and approved by PEC and city staff, and both recommend approval. The replat was necessary as the parcel was split off from the original plat and the necessary for development and to provide utilities for any future use at that location. So again, everyone is in agreement and recommend your approval of this plat and then the mayor's signature.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Seitner or Mr. Odell if he's in the audience?
Do you have any pictures for us?
Oh, yes, thank you, sorry. So that's basically the mall area. And that shows the future land use and the zoning map. And it's kind of at that corner by the road, the ring road. And what made this unusual is we went to search for the plat, we found out that the mall itself had never been platted. So it was a bit challenging, but thanks to Mr. Odell and Matt Williams and PEC, everything came together. There was a sale involved, and so to close all of that and everything, had to use a old school process of meets and bounds to make the sale work.
Couldn't make it just a perfect square with meets and bounds. It had to be a curve on there, huh?
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
any
that
other
was
questions?
way above my experience level, but luckily, and that's probably the good thing of this third-party situation is Matt especially, everything came together rather quickly, and we were able to move the project through really quickly, and a lot of it had to do with the relationship that Jay and Matt had got together. So I thank them both for that.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Sightnader? If not, I would, if someone would like to move to approve or do something different with that, I would appreciate it.
I move to approve and to accept and approve the recommendation of PEC, the Planning and Development Department, and approved at the March 28th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, the final plat for Hutchinson 17th LLC, and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Second that.
Any other discussion? If not, please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Thank you.
sir. Next item, please.
Item 8B, consider listing agreement for sale of City of Hutchinson real estate.
Paul Brown, City Attorney. And I'll start out with what appears on the screen. This is not in the City of Hutchinson. It's in the City of South Hutchinson. And if you look in the very center of that map, you'll see kind of an aqua-colored line that's a border. That's the tract that we own outside South Hutchinson. We have owned that since, Mary Lynn, thank you. She's pointed that out for you. It was acquired when we were doing the levee system. Basically, a potential borrow pit is what it was going to be, if you needed soil for the levee system, which was substantial. And it was a part of the eminent domain proceeding back then. So we have had it since 1952. 70 years of doing absolutely nothing with it.
We haven't farmed it?
Somebody farmed it, not us. But I was approached by Mr. Mike Campbell with Big Iron Realty. They are auctioning the remainder of that tract directly to the east there. What it shows as the dark period there. It's another 22 acres. And he said, this will sell better for you if you sell it along with this tract. And I said, you're right. So that's why we're approaching the council about permission to do this. And further description of where that's at, it's directly north of where Highway 50, 96, and 61 come together. You can see Main Street out of South Hutch. The one box to the southeast there, that's the Love's Truck Stop. And our tract is almost immediately behind the Veterans Memorial and the Salt Monument. And immediately adjacent to, there's a South Hutch Nature Trail along there. It's 3.5 acres. And there isn't any reason not to sell it. I've checked with the other department heads. Public Works didn't have a need. Everyone was okay with that. And, outside of the city attorney, there's very few people that knew that we had it. And I've often said we should have a garage sale and get rid of all these various little tracts. But we acquire them over time. A lot of eminent domain proceedings for highway projects, et cetera. We end up with the remainder of the tracts, like we own the real estate underneath the south end of Sears Plaza that the building is on, because that was taken as part of the Woody seat. But this tract is just farmland. We have not done anything with it. They're going to go ahead and auction it off. It would bring a better price if we auction it off with the remainder of the tract. even back in 1952, we paid as part of the eminent domain proceeding just under $1,600. And some of that was damage to the remainder tract because it would have been smaller. The proposed listing agreement, it's a 5% commission. We will pay our pro rata share of closing costs and title requirements. But this is a great opportunity to go ahead and sell it instead of just leaving it in limbo as it has been for 70 years.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or
Yeah,
comments
you
on this?
speak of a track. It's a track. It's not a railroad tracks.
No, tract.
Tract. Okay.
It's a parcel.
Okay.
It's a tract.
Now saying that, we have the Siemens out there, and their track on the ends over there somewhere in that
No,
area.
no, not there.
I know that, but it's farther back. But do you think that they would have to add? I'm just wondering if Siemens would want more track going out that way. You understand what I'm saying?
No, this is by South Hutch.
Yeah, it's farther out.
It's
I got
way
you.
on the other
I got
side.
you. Okay.
And the railroad you're talking
Right.
about, there isn't any more real estate for that to go anywhere.
Okay. You answered my, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the listing agreement and all related documents and authorize the city attorney to sign documents on behalf of the city of Hutchinson, and further, upon closing of the sale transaction, the mayor is authorized to sign all necessary documents and complete the transaction.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? Not, please call roll.
Garza.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 8C, consider 30th and Lucille intersection.
All right. I know this is going to be of a lot of interest for a lot of people on this discussion. I want to make sure we're clear on how this is written up. If people have the agenda, if not, I'll read it out to you. So the motion is to approve the staff's recommendation to follow the results of the warrant analysis as presented by engineers showing traffic signals are not warranted at this intersection. No further evaluation should be done, and the remaining temporary signal equipment should be removed. So basically what that means is a vote yes means that we're not moving forward with any changes to the intersection. A vote no would mean that we are open to considering more options at this intersection. I want to make sure all five of us are clear on that. Okay. I would like to put Jeff on the spot to come up here for any questions and to do a quick review of the studies and when the studies were done, if you have those notes at all. No? I know, we know we've gone through this. We had the study session. We went through this quite a bit. Okay. If you would give us a quick rundown, just for some people that may not be aware, when we started, I believe it was in August.
Yes, so in
up
August.
to this point.
Sure.
Okay.
So in August of 2019, the city installed temporary traffic signals at 30th and Lucille. That was, Brett's had paid for half of the installation of the temporary signals because they were done for the school. When they were installed, the intention was to remove them with the completion of the 43rd Avenue Bridge. Once the bridge was completed, the city had JEO perform a warrant analysis on the intersection. We wanted to make sure that between the time, I mean, they were installed for whatever that length of time is, almost 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. So we wanted to make sure that none of the circumstances at the intersection had changed from the time that they were installed and weren't warranted to the time we were going to remove them. We didn't want to go in and cause a problem by removing the temporary signals. So the JEO performed the warrant analysis on August 12th of 2022 to make sure that the signals were not warranted at that intersection. The results from that study showed that they were not warranted, and that's when we chose to remove the signals. We have done, I don't have the dates, we have done 4 traffic studies, speed counts, traffic counts. JEO has also performed 1. Jim Tabobin is the JEO representative that was here that discussed with everybody the results of the warrant analysis, as he's the one that performed them. He was here for the questioning on the last March 7th study session, and his recommendation hadn't changed. And so JEO updated their price for including the additional, looking into anything to do with the the additional request by Councilman Garza to look at the banjo system and maybe trying to use the existing temporary poles as a temporary means. So we received that. I received that yesterday. It just increased the price for $2,000 to do the cost analysis. So basically, either way, yeah, and that's kind of.
Okay. I know we've had a lot of input from people that are, that live in the area, that work in the area, and we've had, Councilmember Garza has shared some of his experience on this as well. I'm open to a hearty discussion on this topic. Who would like to start?
Okay, I'd like to start.
Thank you, Mr. Garza.
All right. I went out there yesterday and met with the city, the superintendent, Cindy Kutchman. Am I right? And I explained to her why traffic lights, we stood out there and I explained to her how traffic lights would move the intersection faster. I explained to her all the green lights and all the stops. She was concerned about the left turns coming out of Lucille. And I explained to her that that wouldn't be a problem. We can set the controller up where the car would come up to the stoplight and it won't turn green until the seconds that we got. And I sat there, stood there with her and showed her with how the time at 7 seconds stoplight, that car at 7 seconds to turn, in which we never caught a car to make the light turn red if we had lights up there. It's all in the controller. The controller can do a lot of stuff. I do still have the same thing. I talked to her. She didn't say whether she liked it or she didn't like it. She didn't, but I showed her how traffic lights work and how it would be efficient. A light is a lot more efficient, and I seen all the buses coming through there. I told her, and I did some timing with her, showing her car coming because of the cars coming off that highway. This is like the young lady said, they're coming 50 miles an hour. If we have a car coming 50 miles an hour and a bus happened to come and slammed into that bus, the buses are tanks. They'll probably hold up, but it's the car. It's going to decapitate the car. It's not a very good situation. I still say traffic lights are the best quality. Traffic lights will move. As far as the warrants is concerned, I know what you mean by warrants. I was a senior technician, went to school for all that. It's as a need. The need is there to protect our kids. We had some people cross the street there, and she says, I have a problem with that. I says, not a problem. We could have put a button. The button will exercise the light to go to green. The people can come across. You don't have to have ped lights up there. I suggest that we go ahead and keep the lights up there for a temporary right now till we can afford to do a better job of putting up there whatever. We put temporary lights up all the time. In fact, we have a temporary light going up on 30th, and they had an accident, took a pole out. They're going to put a temporary light there for now. The lights work great. They don't have no problem. The stop signs, I know, is a one-way protecting traffic, but it doesn't do an efficient job as a light does. A light, you'd have all those cars backed up coming out of the school, and I explained to her, and I did a timing with me. I showed her how we do the technicians time the cars. It'll clear all those buses out in 1 or 2 movements of a green episode of light. It's on the red side, in the light, and she was telling me all the problems she was thinking. In her head, she says, well, wouldn't that light change? I says, no, ma'am. The light doesn't change until you get a movement on Lucille. The the green light on Main Street will stay. It's called a dwell movement. It'll stay in dwell, and the cars go freely. My biggest concern that I seen it out there, is that the speed of the cars. They're just narrowly put it down to 40 mile an hour. That's not going to go. They were going 45, 50 mile an hour. If you leave the light up there, I hope to God that we don't have a bus that comes across there and those cars do 50 mile an hour, slams into those buses. We have a different situation today. The school has turned from, I think they added another grade, if I'm right. I think it was 8th, but they added another grade. So it puts more pressure and more cars out there today. And I have a big concern as I stand there talking to her. Those buses, they need to clear out. That traffic light is more efficient than a stop sign. It'll clear them out. And as far as the Main Street on 30th Street, you put a left turn in there and you won't pile the cars up. The light's more efficient on the left turn. It'll clear out. I know. It will turn and it'll clear those cars out on left turn going into the school. I don't know how else to say it. In my point of view, it's more safe. You get a green light is better than a stoplight. The buses will be more safer when that bus driver hits that gas on a green light. He or her knows that they're protected. And the light's no more nuisance than a stop sign. fact that it'll clear them out quick. It'll clear those buses out of there. As far as, and then the light won't turn green on Lucille until you get a movement. And I would suggest, in my perspective, that you put cameras up there instead of you have a microwave sensor right now. A microwave is not as good as a camera. You put a camera up there that will see the cars coming out of the school and it'll be ready for the movement of the green light. It's a lot efficient, more safe. I don't know what else to tell you. Your kids, they mean a lot. And I have a lot of people call me on that's going to back up 30th. It won't back up 30th. It won't back up 30th. The green light's more efficient and everything. So she didn't say whether she liked it or didn't like it. I just there to answer her questions. So in my perspective as a senior traffic signal technician for 20, 30 years, I suggest you keep the lights back up. It's more safe. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. And I recognize this is going to be, this for this council, this is probably going to be a split vote.
Oh, sure.
And I want to make sure that we all support each other in regards to how we argue.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate you going this far with it. That's why I tell you this council's good. They listen to all issues of the thing. We did the best we can, and I do the best I can as the information I know, but this happened to be my field that I was with the city of Hutchinson.
And I believe everyone's had, I know we have 2 new council members, I believe everyone's had a chance to independently
Sure.
inspect the intersection, ask questions. I know there's been a lot of community involvement on both sides of it.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else want to chime in with thoughts on this?
I have some thoughts. So I think it's unfortunate that there's, in my perception, there's a lot of misinformation out there about the traffic studies that were conducted. I try to make decisions based on fact and not on emotion, but this is one that the emotion can't help but get the better of a person, simply because we are talking about kids. So when the school was built and constructed, it was built for 7th and 8th grade. Obviously, there was very little consideration given to the fact that children may be walking to that school. I went to Prairie Hills, I won't say when, a few years back, and I never walked to school because we didn't live over there, but very few children did unless they lived, I don't know what that neighborhood is, north of there on Seiler Drive and whatnot. So to hear that the children are walking from across 30th when that's not what the school was intended for, that's not what the intersection was intended for. I really like the solutions that Mr. Garza has put forth, and I appreciate your expertise in sharing that with us. I do think that because this is a vote simply to move forward with more consideration or to essentially table it, it doesn't mean that if this is tabled, this doesn't mean that this topic can never be brought up again. It simply means that during the makeup of this current council, it is not likely to pass as it stands. So I do think that there's value in moving forward with more consideration. And I do appreciate the time that everybody has already put in this, and the time and effort that the city staff and that our consultants have put into this as well. We do have temporary lights that get put up every year during the state fair. Everybody seems to manage with those perfectly fine. I personally have gotten in an accident when I was 15 years old at 30th and in front of Union Valley, 30th and Halstead. That wreck alone was $1 million. And I won't get into it all, but it was a very bad wreck, and that was at a lighted intersection. So the lights aren't perfect. They aren't going to solve every issue. We still have to have good drivers, essentially, which we can't do anything about that. But I do think there's value in moving forward with additional, with not taking the light down as this motion is written.
All right, thank you. Any other comments on this? Now's a great time to share your thoughts.
I would like to point out that in the media, it was picked up that we were considering roundabouts out there, a roundabout out there.
I never got the vibes that there was any appetite for building a roundabout out there. And I think that a lot of the discussion on social media has been about the roundabout situation, which I don't think that was ever really a topic.
It was thrown out as a possible option, and I don't think anyone took it too serious on council. I don't think it would be adopted by the community as a whole.
Yeah.
Last thing I'd like to say is that the cost is going to be literally, if you leave the temporary banjo system up, all you do is add a camera. The cost is very minimal. And then maybe we can get with the county and share the cost. I mean, the 30th Street is wide as Main Street. It's very easy to make a left-hand turn on 30th itself. The only problem that I see is that Lucille is going to have to be widened for the buses. And the superintendent did tell me they are planning on putting money. Superintendent, if you're listening, I'm quoting what you're saying. Okay, she said that they plan on widen 30th coming out of Lucille coming out of the school because the buses need more room to turn there.
Yeah, actually, I was working with Mrs. Couchman on that.
Right.
Their entrances, their radiuses were built a little bit short, so we went through and did a study just to verify.
It's going to take
get the buses
very
out.
minor, just a camera to improve that intersection the way it is. We don't have to put the money into it right now. Leave the banjo system up, put a camera in there. It's very, very minimum cost. You don't have to do nothing but have the techs go up there and put the lights back up. So that's what I talked to her about. Me and her had a very good meeting, and she didn't say yay or nay. I just helped her understand how traffic lights work. And she listened to me and was cordial to me. So.
On the banjo system that's up, most of that has been had to be parts out just as we ran out of parts. The controller's gone, all the other different things.
Yes, I
a lot
seen
of
that
parts that'll have
yesterday.
to be,
Yes.
Purchased to put it back up in, and then that was with from the last one. And the cost that we talked to with JEO would include, because it's all been taken apart, and now we're talking about reconstructing it. We do think it would be proper to do another analysis to verify that we were meeting all proper safety standards currently today before we installed and put everything back up as our liability. So that was part of the cost of looking at it, was them doing an investigation of the current setup and verifying that it is an appropriate location to put up a temporary signal. It isn't like 30th Avenue where it is faster. It has ditches. It doesn't have curb and gutter. There are a lot of different things inside of the clear zone that change with those factors. And then this one also wasn't designed for signals. So therefore, it does need to have evaluation taken into the left turn lane and different factors that JEO has brought to the table in discussion as well. So that is part of the additional cost analysis.
You're talking about cost, Mr. Shake. Let me ask you a question. This cost is for a contractor to do it or for our own technicians to do it?
This is just a cost to evaluate the intersection, to give us a cost of what it would cost to install.
Why do we need to evaluate it?
Because we've removed everything. It's the same thing, and I can't find the original investigation. Before you would put up a temporary signal at a location that wasn't designed for a signal, you should do an evaluation to make sure you're not creating an unsafe condition. I can't find the original study that should have been done on August 19th when they were installed. So I would want to get one that we have something in writing that says that we aren't creating an unsafe situation.
Mr. Shank, I've been a
reinstalling.
technician for a lot of years. We never do evaluations. When I was a technician, they would come to the traffic division, they say, get the lights up, we put them up.
I think in this situation, if we're going to go from temporary to permanent, we'd want to do something like
But
that.
you're still putting, okay, I understand. It's no place to argue. I got you. Okay.
The breaking down some of the different factors, I have an issue, and this is going to make me sound horrible to some people. The children walking across 30th Street, as a community, how do I put this? If there are a handful of kids walking across 30th Street in Lucille, their parents are aware of the situation, and it is dangerous, and I get that. I don't see it as a responsibility of 40,000 people to overrule the parents' decision to allow their kids to walk across 30th and Lucille if they're comfortable with it. I wouldn't allow my kids to walk across there. I know the conditions, but I have a hard time saying that we have to step in and be the overruling factor for the parents and guardians that allow that to happen. And as bad as that sounds, I don't let my kids walk across 30th and Monroe to walk to school. And that's just me, because I know this. I know the intersection. I know the situation. And that's not saying there are other factors to weigh in here, but I'm saying we as a community cannot parent for the parents in a lot of situations.
But we've done it at every other grade school in the city.
where there's no busing.
Right. I wouldn't let, so we live next to Morgan. I wouldn't let my kids walk across Morgan or 25th and Monroe, but I would let them go to 27th Monroe where there's a light.
Because you understand the situation.
Right.
And Mr. DeGarmo brought up some good points and good information in the last meeting in regards to intersections with stoplights that are near schools. The difference with Hutchinson, whether you like it or not, the Hutchinson School District does not bus the kids. They expect all kids to be dropped off or to walk to school. So you have a lot more pedestrian traffic within the city limits. The Bueller is an outlier. Nickerson is an outlier, but there's not as many kids in Hutchinson that go to Nickerson as there is with the Bueller School District. It's just something that it's been bothering me a little bit about calling that a sole reason for it, when I don't think it's the responsibility of the city to overrule what the parents are allowing to happen in certain situations. The stoplight situation, I'm torn on this a little bit, but the stoplight situation, whether we leave it as is or we go to the stoplight, for me, it's a question is, are we creating new issues? Are we trading one issue for a new issue, or are we actually creating an actual solution? And I know you have a lot of experience in traffic lights, but I'm also listening to the engineers also and weighing everything out.
Well, you have a situation, you have a stop sign. There's a traffic device there, regardless if it's a light or a stop sign. You already have that situation. All we do, in my point of view, if you didn't have no stop sign or nothing there at all, I can understand what you're saying. But we already have a traffic light, something there for the traffic. It's a stop sign. All we're doing, in my point of view, is making it better. And I understand what you're saying, okay? But we already have a traffic device. It's called a stop sign. That's a MUTCD stop sign. It's regulated by the MUTCD, all right? But all we're doing is making it better.
And I guess that's where my question is,
Right.
because I'm being told by traffic engineers that we would not be making it better. We would just be creating a different situation with different types of accidents.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I understand.
My observation.
I understand, sir. Yeah, I understand.
And the different types of accidents that you're mentioning are ones that would occur. So the thing that makes them different is that they would be rear end collisions versus being T-boned.
Well, possibly, unless they still disobey the red light.
Right, unless someone runs the red light. But right now, there is the highest risk, from my understanding, with just the stop sign and the traffic going across 30th without interruption, is that the traffic risk is higher for it to be a T-bone accident, which has a higher fatality incidence
Okay.
at that speed, which was 40, I believe 49 was the average speed captured on the studies.
Well, and I know, and I'll just say this, I mean, we have drivers doing stupid things at a stop sign. We're not going to stop them from doing stupid things with a stoplight. It'll just be different stupid things, probably. Other thoughts on this?
Mayor, I have several.
Please, sir.
And I appreciate what you're saying about emotion, because I'm kind of black and white, and I feel like I'm getting better about that. I do. Again, I'll just tell you what I saw. I've seen 2 or 3 kids. One kid went across the street to the south because Mom parked on the south side of 30th. I don't know how many kids there are walking, skateboarding, riding their bike to school, but I didn't see very many. And the one that I specifically watched went to Mom's car to her SUV. And so that is a parenting issue. And again, for whatever reason, I think mom felt like it was more safe for the kid to cross to the south on Lucille and get in the car than it was for her to try to navigate traffic. I have an issue with all the studies that we do as a city. I have trouble reconciling us just not listening to it. And we spend money to people that do this for a living, and I'm not trying to discount you.
You're fine.
You know how I feel about you,
Yes.
Steve.
Yeah.
I just have a problem just not listening to those folks, because it seems like we pay people to tell us things. We should maybe listen, and we don't always have to. I don't always agree with what we agreed to earlier, or sometimes, I go back, Mr. Brown, to the discussion at Van Buren and Heather Parkway with a yield sign. There was no warrant to put that up. We chose to do that. So I understand we can do what we want, but I have this core issue with spending a lot of money and then just not listening. Or maybe that's an exaggeration, but they tell us it's not warranted. The third or fourth thing I want to mention is the school has a shortage of bus drivers. They are down 23 bus drivers. And to me, that's what's causing this problem. If we go to all the expenses as a city to put the lights up, and then suddenly our economy turns around, there's a whole bunch more bus drivers, then we're back to, well, we have these lights here that we don't need. Does anybody else have any thoughts?
I agree with everything you said. It's been studied and studied and studied. The experts have said there's no need for this. I live right there and have lived right there for years, except 2 years in the middle of that. But I'm very well aware of the intersection, and I've been through it. I don't know how many 100 times at school drop-off time. In the morning, particularly. But I've been out and as I encouraged others, go sit at the intersection and just watch. It's actually works pretty darn well. I was surprised how well it did work, because at every school during drop-off and pickup time, there's chaos. Every single school. The schools in town that were referenced by Mr. DeGarmo, those are all on in pedestrian. They have sidewalks. They have kids do walk to school there and ride bikes to school. Not all of them, but
they're in neighborhoods.
They're in neighborhoods, and they're in completely different setting than this. This setting is completely different than what those are. I don't see that there's a connection with that, other than it's a school. But I have heard from countless people, and all pretty much have been very much opposed to doing anything at this intersection, at least at this time. And as somebody mentioned, we can always look at it again later if it turns out that things change there. Things can change, but at the present time, the professionals that have analyzed this and studied this and done all of the warrants say that it doesn't make sense. And I agree that you know, I think we should pay attention to what they say. If they sat here and said it did make sense, I think we'd probably be in favor of it.
Or if
Well,
they
I
said,
just mean,
if they said we were right on the line, money would be no object to me putting up those signals. If it was super close and they said, you know, John, you mentioned at one time, if we're having a big building project out east of town, traffic flow starts to increase on 30th, which makes even less gaps for people to get out onto 30th. I don't know. You said something about, you know, putting that on the other 40,000 people. I told somebody this one time, if there's an accident there that really harms somebody, it's not going to be because I didn't choose to put a light up there. It's going to be because somebody disobeyed a traffic law. And maybe that sounds harsh. And I don't want that to happen. And if I knew that was going to happen, we would end this discussion.
Absolutely.
I got one last thing to say.
Please, sir.
You guys said, and I agree, I've worked with traffic engineers for years. When I went to school, traffic engineers taught us. And they said the one thing that you got to understand on traffic lights, the warrants mean a lot, but also it's the need. And that's what I follow. This is the need of that area. One other thing, you start talking about people not they had 2,000 people sign a document that I seen, that we seen, that wanted the light and thought it was need for the light. Yes, there's people that want the light. At 2,000 people said they wanted the light. Now, when I look at that, some of the people were people from out of town or visiting or whatever. In my point of view, you have people from out of town looking at that intersection saying there's a need. To me, you need to listen to your people, to the people of Hutchinson. You say $40,000 people. Well, there's 2,000 people said there is a need. And when I went to traffic school, they told us, you listen to your warrants, but that's just a particle that they do to install lights and also take lights out. Now, you want to talk about traffic lights in Hutchinson, Kansas? I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of lights that aren't warranted in this town. There's a lot of places that are warranted for this town. So you can, a warrant is something, is a tool to help you make a decision. It's a tool today to make your decision. But what I see is you had 2,000 people telling you they want the light. And they brought them to you. It's nothing that they just, a rumor. It wasn't a rumor. They brought the papers up to us. And the last what I'm going to see, I appreciate you guys for listening. I know it's a hard decision. We sit up here and make hard decisions. But I have to go with what in my heart tells me, in my experience. And it's going to be a very hard decision. It's probably going to be one of the hardest decisions we ever make. And today, I appreciate you listening. But you got to remember that we had 2,000 people sign a petition. You have to remember, also there's people saying they don't want it. There's also people saying they do want it. You have bus drivers that come to here showing their support that they are scared to push that gas pedal, go across the street. Now, if you guys didn't have nobody here, then I would say okay. And one other thing, when I talk loud, I am not mad. You guys, I appreciate your coming here. I am not mad at you guys. I appreciate you listening, okay? Listening to me. And when I'm very, very deep being on the city council. I take everything pride. Because this is the citizens of a lot of our citizens that are here today are from Buhler, Kansas. They're not in our city, but they care. But in my point of view, look who's here. You have 2,000 signatures. These bus drivers are scared. And I take that very, very seriously. So, but that doesn't, I just want to tell you that thank you for helping make this thing go, being part of the process. That's all I'm saying. But you had 2,000 people that wanted it. A warrant is only a tool to make you put them in and also make you take them out. But there's also the need. And I thank you for listening. Whatever comes out, I thank you for that.
I appreciate you,
All
Mr.
right.
Garza.
And as a resident of Heather and Van Buren, I would like to say thank you for putting up that yield sign. Not going to say it's life-changing on that street, but I do think it has helped the flow right there. I live like 4 or 5 houses down from there. And the night, Chris Mullins, who came and spoke to you guys about putting that up, and he collected signatures and talked to all of us who live on that street. I will tell you that it made an impact on him when he pulled his daughter out of his upside-down vehicle the night that he got in an accident there. Would a yield sign at that point in time have altered, what happened for him? Maybe, maybe not. But at the same time, it would have assigned fault in that accident, which would have given him a path to a different path monetarily, in my opinion, and in my experience with insurance. So that is, just thank you guys for that. I think that we should have had a stop sign over there because Heather is technically 27th Street, and every 2 blocks on Van Buren, if you go north on Van Buren, every 2 blocks there's a stop sign, except for right there. And so that strip that curved where Rustic turns into Van Buren and then comes up to 30th Street, there's no stop sign in that stretch, but there is every other 2-block stretch south of 24th. So it's a different, it could have changed the intersection if something different were done. And I think that no matter what we do today, we're always going to wonder if something different could have been done. But like I said, regardless of our vote today, doesn't change possibly doing something in the future as well.
Okay. Thank you for that. No offense, I think we're going to stick to one intersection to deal with, if that's all right with you.
Shouldn't have went down that road.
No, it's a good example, though. Any other comments before we make a motion on this?
Sorry, if you don't mind, if I may.
Yes,
just a quick
please.
one. It had been referenced, I guess, these traffic signals. I wasn't able to make it to the last council meeting, but they talked about the signals like at 27th and Main and several of them. There is a different warrant for pedestrian safety for grade schools.
What schools?
For grade schools.
For grade schools.
So we do have traffic signals at odd locations like 23rd and Tyler.
10th and Adams.
10th and Adams, but those are all adjacent to grade schools, Morgan, Wiley, there's one on 17th in Cleveland, and that's for Graber. So for the grade schools, there is a different way of protecting. We have none around our 7th, 8th, and high school. Our 7th, there is one at Maple and Avenue A, but that is a collector coming into an arterial. So it does have a different situation than being a residential coming into. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
All right, thank you. Before anyone would entertain a motion, I just want to review again. A vote yes is that we are not looking at this intersection at this time. A vote no is that we would continue moving forward with an update to the intersections. Make sure we're clear on that again. So that being said, any other discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I motion to approve staff's recommendation to follow the results of the warrant analysis as presented by engineers showing traffic signals are not warranted at this intersection. No further evaluation should be done, and the remaining temporary signal equipment should be removed.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Hold up.
Second.
I got a question where and then he's reading off the paper. He says
correct.
no evaluation will be done. Is that going to ruin the future or what? You understand?
For right now.
Okay,
This is for now.
all right.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please call roll.
Garza,
No.
Conklin,
Yes.
Goss,
No.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 9, report of city officials.
All right. Mr. Garza, would you please start us out?
Well, like I told you guys before, I really appreciate you being here, and I know it's not hard. I know it's not hard to be in the commissioner, so we make very hard decisions. This wouldn't be for me to say that I'm disappointed. We gave you guys, all of us, the information we needed. It's a need, and we'll just have to go on. So other than that, Tonight, our district, my district, will have a new vote for a new area being, we're called the Founders. So we're going to have the vote on our logo tonight. So hopefully we'll have a new committee for the south end of town. The boys and the girls, the youth council is doing very well. Next council meeting, they're going to be going again. They're going to go up and give theirs. Please, they're only having 2 or 3 people come to the meetings. I wish we could come out more and support our youth. They are the governors. They are the people of the future. And if we don't show them support, matter of fact, a couple meetings ago, they asked me, is this how our council meeting is? Just one person sitting in the audience? I said, no, guys. This is not how it is. And I wish the city of Hutchinson would support you guys a lot more. So if you're listening to me, please support your youth council. They sit up here. They think it's a big deal, and we got to show them it's a big deal. They're our future, and we have to support them and to teach them how government works, to teach them how to be up here and sit and do what we do, but they do it on a smaller business. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Fast?
Along those lines, the Southwest Bricktown meeting was recently. We've got some bands lined up for September 23rd for the Fiesta in September. It'll be the 3rd annual. If you would like to sponsor that event, please get your checkbook out. We will have more food trucks again this year, and a band called Cabal.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm close. Anyway, so that's coming up, and again, that's all because of the Healthy Neighborhoods initiative that was started several years ago. I think that program's a good one from everything I've seen, and I appreciate the work that gets done there. Along those lines, a safe sidewalk program. You have until April 15th to get your application in. If you are Hispanic, it has been translated online in Spanish. You have until April 15th. If you're a homeowner, the city will pay 95% of your sidewalk repairs. If you're a landlord, own investment property and would like your sidewalk repaired, the city will pay 80%, I believe. So I think that's all I have. I did attend a conference, reference our downtown last week, and learned many good things. I think that we have some get-togethers planned for next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, I believe. Please come to Memorial Hall. They'll be pushing out some more media on that. Please participate. This is your town, your downtown. Please own it. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Conklin?
I just touch on 2 things. Last meeting, I believe Mr. Fast referenced that he thought it might be appropriate and a good idea for us to have like a strategic budgeting these projects that are actually being worked on and planned, that we become much more aware and alert of what is being talked about and being proposed well before it comes time to vote on it. That we, I've heard, and I'm sure you have too, from many people who are very concerned about their taxes. They were already thought their taxes were too high, and then when the new property tax evaluations came out, they're very, very concerned that they're about to get whacked, and so they're. I mean, that's the. But they want us. I've heard from many that they want us to be very prudent and judicious with any unnecessary spending. I'm not saying there is unnecessary spending. or that there's any unnecessary spending being proposed, but that we just be further out and aware of what is being talked about and/or planned, so that we're going to be the ones held accountable for what is done or not done. And our citizens do want services, but like everything, nobody can get everything they want unless you have an unlimited checkbook, but we don't. So that we, have a better look at, this is what we're planning for this year, or this is what we're planning for 2 years out, and I think that would be wise for us to have a much better look at what is being really considered.
As we go through the budgeting process, we'll be going through what's slated for investment over the next year, 3 years, 5 years, and we will be making adjustments based on needs. And I think Angela and our city manager, it's going to be pretty involved this year. I think it's going to be fairly detailed. But yeah, it gives us an opportunity to look at what projects, do we need to push some out further?
Yeah, yes.
Do we need to bring some in, depending on what our current cost structure looks like? And things that pop up that we need. I mean, as far as if something breaks down and it's a need for the community. But we'll be getting into that pretty meaty discussions over the next few months.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Well, my only other comment, and was around these water rights, that it became, I didn't really know anything about water rights to speak of until we had that presentation of the study, either last meeting or the meeting before. But it becomes fairly clear that actually water rights are very big and very important, and have are going to play a large role in any city's future expansion and or attracting businesses. And so I would highly think that it's in our interest to look at every possible source for water rights, and to try to acquire as many water rights as we can. I'm not suggesting that the city has to pay for those. I mean, somebody's going to have to pay for that, but having the water available is going to make a huge difference as to what kind of industry and business that can be attracted. And not having it available is going to pretty much keep the people out, keep companies out. And so we've been on a kind of a slow, steady, little drip by drip decline over the years, and we're all interested in trying to expand the tax base, expand the population, which we need to do, and try to get the arrow pointed back up. And so water rights are apparently going to be one of the big determining factors as to whether we're able to do that or not. So, and I know that the city's aware of that, and there's is working on, they're going to work on doing anything they looking at all options as far as acquiring rights. And I just that really probably is going to be one of the biggest things that we either do or don't do. And so I hope we are able to accommodate and find a way to accommodate the potential needs that that may be actually present already. So anyway, that's.
Thank you very much. Ms. Goss?
Yes, thank you. I would like to thank the city staff who has worked so hard over the past few weeks. Justin, you're included in this to water, plant, grow, mow, maintain, and just generally beautify the city grounds. I look forward to seeing all of the new plants and what you guys have in store, so thank you for that. One of the tours that Mr. Conklin and I went on was we got to see where they grow some of these plants, and it was really fascinating to see that we grow a lot of these in-house versus purchasing them wholesale. And I think that that's just one of the unique things about Hutch, and one of the things that Hutch is doing to keep cost measures down. Sometime over the past 2 weeks, I attended a meeting for Child Care Aware. I think it's really great to see so many different people, not from Hutch, but from the community and from the state, working together to solve the child care shortage. And so seeing everybody come together at the same giant table was really great. And I look forward to hearing about and seeing more progress on that. The Youth City Council, as Mr. Garza mentioned, great council, mostly young women, so I do appreciate that. And if you think you're nervous up here, imagine if you were 14 years old doing the same thing. So they're doing really great things, and I love to see it. The Young Professionals of Reno County held their annual meeting last weekend. It was a successful event attended by approximately 45 people from all different professions and walks of life, and thank you to the mayor for speaking to us. I will say that we badgered him pretty heavily with questions, so thanks for taking time out of your night. And other than that, with that, I will close.
Oh, yeah, badgered is a good word. I like that, yeah. I fumbled my way through it for a lot longer than they attended, I'm sure. In honor of National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, I'd like to mention that it is hot and dry and windy today, and I know that's on a lot of our community members are in the firefighting field, and I think they would appreciate everyone being cognizant of the conditions today. In addition to what Mr. Fast said in regard to his trip, I know there's a lot of downtown meetings going on next week. If you're involved in that, please put the time and effort into it. It was largely funded by some private donations. People are very motivated to see something happen downtown. Not all of it was publicly funded. With that, I will hand it over to the city manager.
Can I say something, one more thing?
Yes, sir, please.
It would be really bad for me to say thank you guys for being involved. I know it didn't turn out the way we wanted it, but don't let this turn you down. We got to have citizens involved in it, okay? So I appreciate you guys standing up and doing what you thought was right. So, yes, ma'am.
When did we get to say something? Did I bypass it, or I didn't understand when we were able to go and say something about 30th and Lucille? I'm sorry if I.
No, I think you'd have to ask the mayor that, but I think that process was gone already, and I don't know, ma'am. But the process, we went through the process. Of course, I'm disappointed. But I want to make sure you know that I appreciate you guys sticking up for yourselves. Okay, I do. Don't let this turn you down. We need citizens' involvement, and I want to make sure you know I really appreciate it. So, but the process of that, I think that was called a session that we had. That what was that called?
We had a study session.
A study session.
This was not a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing.
Well, I had come in late because
No, that's
I was
all right.
on a route.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I missed it, so.
All right. Okay, but I wanted to make sure that you guys recognize you did work hard. So I appreciate it, and that's what it's all about, citizens
I
involvement.
appreciate you, and I especially want to thank Diane
Yeah.
because she's
Yeah.
put a lot of work.
Oh, yes.
But I feel like we didn't get to say our place,
Well,
what we thought, so I'm sorry if I missed it.
yeah.
I was just asking.
Yes, ma'am.
That's fair.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll address that really quick.
No,
We've
that's fine.
been working on this for months now. We probably would have made it 7 months, if not longer. We probably would have made a decision sooner if we didn't have two new city council members that needed to be brought up to speed with what was going on. And this was not a public hearing, it was an agenda item for the council members to weigh in. It doesn't mean that this is done for now. It doesn't mean that this cannot be readdressed later on. It means that this council, we made a decision to go with the recommendations of the engineer with the current situation that we have. Doesn't mean it can't be brought up again at a later date. It just means we're done with it for now.
What's the earliest later date that you consider?
I would say it would probably be a new city council or a drastic change in the circumstances at 30th and Lucille that would warrant bringing it back up again.
So then if it comes up again, I won't stop, because I brought in 3 or 4 pages of petition written. I won't stop even if we get it online. I'll keep going and going and going.
That's fair, and this is something we need, we're getting out of line in our agenda right now, but this is something that can be addressed through Mr. Garza or any of us. Your district, your at-large mayor, Mr. Garza, Mr. Fast, we can go through that again. And the 5 of us can decide to bring it up again.
Well, I appreciate you guys hearing this, and like I said, she put a lot of work in.
I understand that.
She's put a lot of work in this, too.
We were guaranteed to
Not
disappoint
everybody
somebody
does,
in this
so
decision.
thank you.
It's true. I thank you. Mr. Manager, please.
Yeah. Kendall Francis, City Manager. Thank you, Mayor. You guys actually hit on a lot of what I had, but one thing you didn't cover, just a reminder, citywide cleanup, April 29th and 30th. So that's about 3 weeks out. To speak more to Councilmember Conklin's strategic planning initiative. So we have put out RFPs for strategic planning. Unfortunately, we're not going to get it accomplished before this budget year, but we will for the 2025 budget year. We received 10 RFPs. Staff has reviewed and we've cut it down to 4, and we will be looking to finalize a selection for a consultant to help with strategic planning, because I agree with you, it's very important. We need to have that plan in place. So that is something that will be upcoming, and there will be the process will include public input on that, so it will be an open process. So the only other thing that I would leave you with is I have scheduled my first, I call them Kendall's Coffee. It will be Friday, May 12th. 7:30 to 9 a.m. at Scuttlebutts. It's just an opportunity to come visit with me, hear what's going on within the city. Come, I'll buy you coffee and breakfast. And
What time is that?
It's 7:30 a.m. till I said 7:30 to 9, but I'll stay as long as people want to stay and visit with me.
How big of a breakfast are you buying?
You'll get some pastries and stuff from Scuttlebutts. So, but. If you stay long enough, I'd probably even buy you lunch. So, but if you have that many questions, so.
Anything else?
Nothing else.
Right. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Item 10, executive session.
All right. How much time do you think we're going to need?
30.
30 minutes. Would
Let's
anyone?
try 30 minutes
All right.
initially.
Would
Yeah, I was gonna
anyone
say
need
it's
to
gonna-
take
it's
do a
probably-
recess real quick
Yes,
for 5 minutes?
please.
Mayor.
Let's take a 5-minute recess.
I need a motion before you recess.
Thank you. Okay.
Realistically, 30 minutes isn't going to. I think we'd be talking very fast in 30 minutes. It's probably going to be closer to an hour. I mean, to really cover what we need to cover.
Okay. Do I need to make a motion for a recess? Is that what you're saying?
No, I need a motion for the executive session first.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Let's figure out a time first. You say 11:15?
11:30.
11:30?
Try
What-
11:30.
11:30.
Okay, the motion should be to the executive session for 11:30 then, if you're going to make a motion.
Motion to recess into executive session till 11:30.
Will that work for you? Do we want to take 5 minutes?
Need a second.
I need a second.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Any other discussion on this?
I need to call roll, please.
Roll, please.
Garza?
Yes.
Conklin?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Fast?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes. You know, I can take. Passed.
Yes.
You still have 1 minute.
All right, thank you.
Great.
All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I make the motion. I move to adjourn the meeting.
I second. Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin,
Here.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.